Back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. And our final segment this morning, we're going to be talking about insects and one very big insect with a nasty stinger. And to talk about that is the state apiarist. Yes, the state has someone who specializes within the Department of Agriculture on bugs and insects and especially honeybees. And for that is my friend, someone I go back a ways with, Mike Studer. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning, Nick.
It's good to see you. I want to make sure we got good audio. Is audio up there all right? I want to make sure I can hear him. Say, yeah, you can hear me loud and clear, Mike?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Gotcha.
You're good.
Okay. Now, listen, Mike, I know you're busy out and about, and you know you're a lover of honeybees like I am. The big story is this murder hornet, if you will, that's appeared in the Pacific Northwest, and everyone wants to know, is it coming to Tennessee? Is it in Tennessee? What do you think?
We don't think it's in Tennessee. We're actually going to be surveying for it this year. We had plans set up last year before it was even found to start surveying for it to make sure we don't have it. We're actually working through a cooperative grant with the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. Several states across the country are looking for invasive hornets, wasps, and other stinging insects. So we'll be setting some traps out, looking for it in areas where we think it might show up. But we don't think it's going to show up in Tennessee. There's only been one case found in Washington State and one up in British Columbia last year. The one in British Columbia was in August of last year, and the one in Washington State was in December.
You know, several people have sent me photographs of what they think, and it looks like kind of what this hornet looks like, but it's a little smaller. Have you seen some of them? Have they been sent to you from Kentucky, Tennessee, around this area? And they're swearing this looks just like what we've seen in these images of the hornet from out of Washington State. What is it that you think you've seen in some of these photos?
I know that they're European hornets. The ones that I've seen from Tennessee, normally every year I get people thinking that they've got them, and I'll get maybe 20 samples a year where people send me in pictures or actually send the insect in. But in the past 3 days, I've probably had close to 200.
Yeah.
So, and we want anybody that thinks they've got it to actually, if they can, take a picture of it, or if they actually have a dead one, to take it to the University of Tennessee Extension Service at your local county agent. They have a distance diagnostic center there where they can take good pictures of it so we can identify it. And if we have any questions, we can have them rotate it or do what we need to do to get a better ID on it. And that's the quickest way and the best way for people to get samples in to get them identified. And
okay.
We do want to know if we have it, but we don't think we do.
And with regard to this European hornet, so you're telling me it looks similar. What's the main distinction between the European hornet and this murder hornet, which I guess is the Asian hornet, besides size? Can the European hornets sting? Are they still nasty, but they're not in the same class?
Oh, yeah, they're nasty. I mean, any of the stinging insects can sting. The main distinctions on it that we can use that are real quick is on the back side of the abdomen. The European hornet, their stripes go straight across. On the European hornet, there are teardrop things that come down on each side of the back side of the abdomen.
Okay, and
little black line, black teardrop.
And they're not as destructive then, okay, right? So the European hornet would not be the same problem. So we have them, and I don't know if you consider them a problem as it would be if the Asian hornet came here.
Yeah, they're a problem with, if you're talking about honeybees or with people, they're a problem with honeybees. They can decimate a colony in a couple days to a week or so, depending on how many European hornets you've got in the colony. The Asian hornet, they'll wipe a colony out in a matter of hours once they get into it. And as far as human interaction with them, they say in Japan they lose between 30 and 50 people a year to the Asian hornet, giant Asian hornet. In the U.S., it's around 60 people per year that die due to wasp and hornet stings, according to the CDC. So, we're not talking about that much worse. If you're allergic to it, yeah, you'd have a problem with it. But the normal human could probably take a few stings from it. They just have a really big stinger, and the venom is more toxic than most of the hornets that we have.
Can you get a little description about it? We've seen so much, and that's, I think, what kind of grabs people's attention. It's a bigger bug, and it's got a big stinger, and there's neurotoxins in the venom or whatever it is. Can you talk about what the pain would be like? I assume you've never been stung by one. There's some videos you can go online and see people stinging themselves with them. Why? I don't know they would do that, but it looks incredibly painful.
Yeah, I don't want to get stung by one. I'd like to have a sample of one, so I've actually got one so I can compare it to European hornets and other hornets that we've got. It's a lot bigger from what I've been told. It's about 2 inches long. European hornet's about 1.5 inches. Yeah, this thing from what I've heard is pretty bad. So you really don't want to get stung by one. I mean, I wouldn't want to get stung by a European hornet either.
And are they considered to be aggressive, some of them? You know, you think about honeybees, they can sting, of course, but they're not aggressive. A European hornet, is it like a yellow jacket? And can it sting you more than once?
Yeah, both the European hornets and the giant Asian hornet can sting more than once.
Will they come after you?
And they're not necessarily, they're not as aggressive or defensive as the yellow jackets that we have. Some of the yellow jackets we have are much more defensive, will come after you a lot quicker than the European hornet or the giant Asian hornet, from what I've read.
And you've said that
as long as you're not messing with the nest.
Yeah, the nest. And by the way, okay, and you've said then, if and when the Asian hornet gets here, we'll know. How will we know?
We'll announce it and let people know that it's here. If we find one, it will be a press release.
Okay, meaning that, and you would find one.
In Washington State.
You would find one, so you get calls and alerts. So the way you would find one would be someone maybe reporting it. Are the nests for a European or an Asian hornet, are they like the paper kind of wasp nests, or what do they look like?
From what I've read, the Asian hornet is a ground nester. It's between 2 and 23 feet under the ground. European hornets are cavity nesters. They build a nest similar to a bald-faced hornet, except it's kind of brown in color instead of gray. I've seen some pretty big ones of those.
So all you can really do then is, in terms of you, I know you'd send out a release once you confirm it, and you say, you know, to this point you haven't seen one. The way you would come across one, I guess, would be someone reporting it, and you go out and investigate, and you'll see one way or the other if what this is the real deal.
Yeah, either from somebody reporting it or in our traps that we're putting out.
Okay,
is the way we would find it.
Tell me about that. Tell me. So I guess that's what's being done. And I know you spend a lot of time in the field. You were out yesterday on that. Talk about the traps you put out and how that works.
They're traps we're going to be putting near areas where we think they might get imported. They tend to come in shipping containers, plant material like pots, things like that. So we're looking for places where we've got stuff coming in from overseas, or stuff we've got coming in specifically from the West Coast of Canada, or the West Coast of the United States. And we'll be putting traps around those. So if anything does come in, hopefully we'll lure them into the trap and catch them and find where we've got some, and then we can go out and search and destroy a nest if we find one.
So are you talking about places where cargo comes in, like railway stations or trucking areas, or things that come in on a barge or something along those lines? I'm just curious. Are they hanging from trees somewhere, the traps?
No, the traps will be hanging from trees. They'll have a food bait in them for them.
Okay, and it's near areas where some of these shipments come in where something could. You said, how do you choose an area to set the trap?
We're working on that right now.
All right, but it's good that you guys are on. So just to be real clear, for people that are saying, Nick, I'm telling you, these hornets are here. Is the Asian hornet in Tennessee?
No. We have had no reports that we can verify that it's here. Every picture we've had sent in hasn't been. One of the things a lot of people will probably mistake for the giant Asian hornet this year is going to be the cicada killers that go in the ground. They're about the same size. So I'm sure when they start showing up this summer, we'll get a bunch of samples, get a bunch of phone calls, emails, text messages Everything else was ones people thinking they've got the giant Asian hornet. But once again, if you think you've got it, take it to the local UT extension agent.
Okay, and the bottom line is it's in the Pacific Northwest. They may or may not migrate, but you guys are on alert just as you would for any invasive species, right?
Yes, we are. And you know, the natural migration part, I've looked at the research to see how fast they would get here if they did it naturally, and they only expand their range 6 to 12 miles per year. So that means it would take, at the minimum, about 160 years for them to get to Tennessee.
That's right. So yeah, really, realistically,
it would be a while.
Realistically,
it would. If they move here naturally, it's going to be a while before they get here, unless they get transported by humans.
Exactly.
It's going to be way beyond our lifetime.
Exactly. If they get here, it would be somehow maybe accidentally transported by humans, as we've seen. And you and I have done stories on this before when we've found some beehives where there was some strain of Africanized bees in there. I remember doing that story with you, and they were brought here. They didn't migrate here. They were accidentally brought here in a package, and you guys took care of it.
Yeah. And that's what we do if we get those here. We'll try and eradicate them as quickly as possible.
Gotcha. Mike Studer, you have, I think, one of the more interesting jobs in the entire state of Tennessee, and you're great. Thank goodness for you monitoring this and protecting our honeybees. And hey, by the way, real quick before we go, you know, a lot of people, someone asked me before I came up, you know those big plump carpenter bees that, you know, are burrowing into everyone's benches and decks? You know, I don't want to kill anything, but if someone wants to get rid of them, you know, what do you think about them? Are they pollinators? Should they be protected, or how would you deal with a carpenter bee?
They are pollinators, and if they stay out in the woods where they belong, they'd be okay. But they do a lot of structural damage. So you really can't say don't kill them if they're destroying your house or your deck. You know, you don't want a building falling on somebody.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So if they're causing problems, you need to get rid of them. But if they stay out in the woods, in the trees where they belong, they'd be fine.
Yeah, just leave them alone then in that case. But boy, I have some in my deck. Hey, Mike, listen, thank you for joining us. You be safe out there, and we'll talk again sometime soon, my friend. I appreciate your time. We'll be back with more, wrapping things up right after this.
All right.